السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد عليه أفضل الصلوات وأتم التسليم. الله سبحانه وتعالى سيد القرآن الكريم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا قوا أنفسكم وأهليكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجارة. Protect yourselves and your families and your relatives and your loved ones from the hellfire. The Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic hadith, كلكم راع وكلكم مسؤول عن رعيته. All of you are in positions of being in charge of something, and you are in charge of those who you are in charge of, and you'll be held accountable for their well-being. The Prophet ﷺ also said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَيَزْعُ بِالسُّلْطَانِ مَا لَا يَزْعُ بِالْقُرْآنِ. It means that the leadership is at a position to apply the rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran Kareem and in the Sunnah. And they are more positioned or better positioned to make the intended effect of the Quran if they display the behavior of the Quran themselves. Leadership. We want to be the better leadership for our families. We want to protect ourselves and our families from the hellfire. We also want to protect them from this life here. We want to protect our families. So today's lecture, inshallah, is how, or it's addressed for women in particular. And the issue that I'd like to talk about is al-hijab. When I prepare the lecture, I look for ayat. I look for a hadith. I don't look for what person A thinks or what person B believes in that is outside the guidelines of قال الله وقال الرسول. So I'll share with you the ayat and I'll share with you the hadith that talk specifically about hijab, the description of the hijab, and whether it is something that is mandatory or mandated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or it's an optional, do it or don't do it, either way it's fine. As some people have come to believe these days. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says directly to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam in the Quran, Ya ayyuhan nabi. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing directly that Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Ya ayyuhan nabi qul li azwajika wa banatika wa nisa'il mu'minin yudnina alayhinna min jalabibihin. Ya Muhammad, tell your wives and your daughters, okay, the wives died, the daughters died, but the third category, he said, tell Nisa al-Mu'mineen, the wives of the believers. So if we consider ourselves to be believers, then this addresses us, the believers and our wives. Now obviously it doesn't talk specifically and only about the wives. It is about Muslim women in general. To do what? يُدْنِينَ عَلَيْهِنَّ مِنْ جَلَابِيبِهِنَّ. So the jilbab is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mandated. It is a wajib. Mandated, a wajib, it means that if you do it, you will be rewarded for it. And if you don't do it, you will be punished for it. It is not optional that whether you do it or you don't, it's all the same. It is not up to you, O sister in Islam, to wear hijab or not to wear hijab. This is mandated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the first word is hijab. Then we hear another word is called what? Khimar. So what did the khimar? Was the khimar mentioned in the Quran? Clearly mentioned? Listen. وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ وَيَحْفَظْنَ فُرُوجَهُنَّ وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا وَلْيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُرِهِنَّ الخمار على جيوبهن ولا يبدين زينتهن إلا لبعولتهن until the end of the ayah. So al-hijab and al-khimar both are clearly mentioned in the Quran. Now we need to dig a little deeper, do a little more research so we can find out what is this hijab, what is this khimar that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about in the Quran. But first, we must all understand and agree and accept that this is mandated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that for a Muslim woman it's a must. It's not optional. If you do it, you're rewarded for it because you're obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you don't do it, you will be punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The mandate by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a protective mandate for the women. It's not an oppressing mandate like a lot of even so-called Muslim women come out and say that this is an oppressing thing for us. We feel oppressed because we wear the hijab. It is to protect the women. It is to dignify women. It is to give them something that no one else has ever given them throughout the history of mankind other than Islam. Dignity, honor, protection. Al-hijab basically is a big garment. Something that is not going to allow the person who looks at it to figure out the, let's say, the dimensions of the body of the woman, or the age of the woman, or whether she is pregnant or she's not, or whether she is really, really tall or thin, or it is not going to reveal all of these details. So it is something that is big. It is something that is not flashy. It is something that is not flaunting. It is something that is not attractive, that attracts the attention of other people, whether it's men or women, but in particular, men. Flashy colors, that's not a hijab. Tight clothes, that's not a hijab. Covering the head and wearing really tight clothes and full makeup, that is not a hijab. Listen to what Allah subhanahu to the Prophet ﷺ said about women in a hadith. شَرُّ نِسَائِكُمْ الْمُتَبَرِّجَاتِ, those who reveal their beauty to foreign men. Let's wait here for just one moment and define what foreign men means. The simple definition, and I ran this by Sheikh Hassan just to verify that I do understand it correctly. Any man that you are, based on the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that you are allowed to marry is considered to be a foreign man to you. You cannot marry your father, so he is a mahram. He is not foreign. You cannot marry, and this is, I'm speaking to the women, you cannot marry your father, you cannot marry your brother, you cannot marry your uncle. So anyone that you are allowed to marry Islamically is considered to be a foreign man. So if you reveal your beauty, your zina to a foreign man, regardless what the circumstances are, you are what the Prophet ﷺ said about sharru an-nisa, the worst of women. Al-mutakhayyilat, those who are bigots, and they love themselves and they love to reveal themselves. وَهُنَّ الْمُنَافِقَاتِ, and we know what munafiqat means. لا يدخل الجنة منهن إلا مثل الغراب الأعصم. That the likes of those women, شر النساء, do not enter heaven as much as a غراب الأعصم. You know what? Have you ever seen even a photo of a white غراب, crow. This is how rare the circumstances are. So you reveal your beauty to a foreign man, you are, according to the hadith, again, this is not a personal opinion, according to the Prophet ﷺ, you will not enter heaven. This is how serious it is. The Prophet ﷺ also said, صنفان من أهل النار لم أرهما بعد قوم معهم سياط كأذناب البقر يضربون الناس بها ونساء. Two categories of people I haven't seen. The second category, women. ونساء كاسيات عاريات مميلات مائلات. كاسيات عاريات, they do have some kind of garment on them, but they are next to nudity. Pretty much they're nude. كاسيات عاريات. They have some kind of cloth on them, whether it's tight clothing or very revealing clothing. كاسيات عاريات مميلات مائلات. مميلات مائلات. There are two different opinions about what this means. The more proper opinion is those women who are astray from ad-deen and they lead other women to be astray from al-Islam. مائلات عن الصواب. رؤوسهن كأسنمة البخت المائلة. And we probably have seen it in our communities where some women, they put large things on their head and then they cover it with some kind of garment, so you see their heads about 30, 40 inches long, on top of their head. This is what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ described more than 1400 years ago. Their heads are like asnimat al-bukht al-ma'ila. Al-bukht is a camel that has two humps. That is what? Almost like laying down. We have seen it. He did it. That's why he started the hadith by saying two categories of people I haven't seen yet, but we have seen this. لا يدخلن الجنة. They will not enter al-Jannah. ولا يجدن ريحها. They will not even see the smell. They will not find the smell of al-Jannah. وَإِنَّ رِيحَهَا لَيُوجِدُ مِنْ مَسِيرَةِ كَذَا وَكَذَا. So what is the hijab? There are different narrations in different books by different shuyukh and ulama. Basically the hijab has to cover the entire body with the exception of what? The hands and the face. So even the ears must be covered, the hair must be covered, the feet must be covered. The entire head must be covered with the exception of the face. And when the Prophet ﷺ in the narration, when he saw Aisha's sister, he said that this is what it's supposed to be like, and he pointed with his hands where the face is, and he pointed with his hands where the hands were. So sisters, if you wear something that reveals your arm, that is haram. If you wear something that reveals your hair, that is haram. If you wear something that reveals your ears, that is haram. If you wear something that reveals your neck, that is haram. If you wear something that reveals how thin or how big you are, that is also haram. If you wear makeup outside your household, that is haram. Even inside your household, if you have foreign men in your household and you wear makeup, that is haram. This is not what Nihad says. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. This is what Muhammad ﷺ said. It's not a matter of opinion. It's all clear in the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is an ayah in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala addresses the women of the believers. وَلَا تَبَرَّجْنَا تَبَرُّجَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ الْأُولَى. Wear your hijab the proper way and do not be revealing like those women of Jahiliyyah were. Do not show your beauty, do not show your zina like the women of Jahiliyyah did before. Hijab must be worn by every Muslim woman who is an adult. Of course, we try to have them wear it before they're adults. to get them acquainted with it, to get them to like it, to get them to understand the hijab of the Muslim woman. But once you are an adult as a Muslim woman, you must wear it anywhere that you are present with any foreign men. Again, you must wear your full hijab the proper way anywhere you are present or in the presence of foreign men. So my message to all the women, including the women that are in my life, whether they are my family or relatives or what have you, a message to all Muslim women: wear your hijab properly. Be proud that you wear the hijab properly. Be proud that you obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be proud that you are a Muslim. This is a way to invite others to Islam. Do not be a hypocrite woman, or do not be a hypocrite woman who only wears the hijab when she is in salah, or only wears the hijab when she comes to the masjid, and immediately after she leaves the masjid, she takes off the hijab, and some women even take it off as soon as they get in the car in the parking lot of the masjid. And I'm not talking about only this masjid. I'm talking about any masjid. But in particular, the masajid that I'm familiar with in South Florida. Don't be a woman who puts on the hijab and when she goes to a wedding, she puts a full makeup and she wears very revealing clothes. Be a Muslim woman who wears the hijab the proper way, the proper time, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prescribed. And in the end, I'd like to close with this. رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ وَاجْعَلْنَا لِلْمُتَّقِينَ إِمَامًا اللهم آمين. جزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.